Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Sol Exodus? Sol Exodus is a space combat game by a company called Seamless, and it aims to take inspiration from the space combat games of old, including, of course, Wing Commander, things like Starlancer, Freelancer, Free Space, and X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter. The question is, does it manage it? Well, it boasts about being able to partake in 8 epic missions. Yes, 8. It's not a lot, really, is it? Now, what I've discovered, having played the first couple, because I thought, hey, it's probably best if I'm going to do a first impression of a space game that I play the first couple of missions to get a feel for it, because usually it's kind of complicated, but this game really isn't. So actually, I think I've made a bit of a mistake in that respect, but I think giving you first impressions after 2 missions seems fair enough. There's a mission select screen right here, which will allow you to play the prologue and obviously day 1 as well, and this will just allow you to go back to any particular mission. There is a reason to do this, because each of these missions has something called a heroic action, and this is an optional objective which gives you double the upgrade points if you accomplish it. As far as I can tell, however, you don't know what the heroic action is until after you finish the mission. It doesn't tell you. That made me scratch my head somewhat, I have to say. I suppose because it's got kind of spoilers of the mission, but I don't know if there's any way of telling in-game. So I guess we'll try and find that out. I certainly didn't see anything obvious. Maybe it's in the pause menu or something. Alright, let's kick it off, shall we? And go into day 2 on Triton, which is mission 3 of this 8-mission game. I don't know if the prologue is included in that, honestly. It doesn't say. Alright, here we go.
Analysis, Cassie.
Commander, the debris in this sector is from both COD and UCS ships.
What is this, Captain Holland? A dumping ground?
More like a graveyard. The COD call what took place here, the Battle of Dawn. It was our last stand against them. You can probably guess who won. Commander, the war is lost. Show yourself to the light, and God will show you mercy.
Mercy, huh? Would that be the same mercy you showed the people on board the Cronus and Prometheus when you ended their lives? The same mercy you showed us when you attacked our ship time and time again on our return?
Unfortunate missteps. My general should have been content to let you die here, with the final setting of God's holy light.
Missteps?
The Atlas needn't join the debris you see before you, Commander. Surrender your ship. Let us talk as friends.
Arik, I'll give you one chance to end this insanity.
I had hoped to avoid this.
Alright, so there is an example of the voice acting. Not the worst I've ever heard,
Commander,
if I'm totally honest.
approaching.
No one hides from his wrath.
Yeah, I liked it better when these guys just rang your doorbell and gave you a free magazine.
Commander, fighter-class ships are targeting the Atlas turret batteries.
Yes, except for all of the enemy fighters. The voice acting for those guys is comically ridiculous. I don't know if that's deliberate. That actually does remind me to some degree of some of the voice acting in one of my favorite space combat games, Starlancer, which was in places quite cheesy, but in other places the voice acting was actually really good. So, I don't know, I think the comparison seems fairly reasonable, aside from the fact, of course, that Starlancer is 12 years older than this game is. The sad thing is, as well, is that this doesn't really look much better than Starlancer did, and the comparison obviously isn't so relevant because this is an Unreal Engine game. It's like, hey, this must look much better, right? Well, I don't know, it doesn't really. It's fairly low fidelity. Oh, Christ. Good lord, it is the most comical set of villains I have seen in a very long time. So what I can tell, as you kind of discover in the first mission of this game, is that the plot pretty much revolves around the idea of getting a new home for the human race and actually trying to find a new home. And there's these guys who are trying to stop that from happening for whatever reason, called the Children of the Dawn. They've got this religious objection to it. I think, from what I can tell, and it's just a guess based on what I've heard so far, that they seem to believe that everyone should just basically die because it's the apocalypse and all that good stuff. So, yeah, defying God's will and all that nonsense. So, I don't know, the plot doesn't seem all that believable, really. It's just an absurdity, but whatever the case. As regards to the actual space combat itself, it is very much simplistic. You can go at pretty high speed using the afterburner, as I think you've managed to very easily spot right there. Just make a quick turn around as we go. You can also tilt left and right, admittedly not that fast for some inexplicable reason. And you can also slide. The slide maneuver is something you've probably seen in quite a few different space games. It allows you to maintain your momentum in a particular direction while also turning the ship. So if you were to fly around in one direction, you could then hold the right mouse button to slide, as you can see there, and I'd keep going in this direction, which does make targeting a little more tricky. Now, weapons-wise, you only have 3, and as far as I can tell, there aren't any others. If there are, they are very well hidden because they're not in the controls anywhere. I looked in the controls, there are 3 weapons: the guns, the missiles, and the mag cannon, which is that. The mag cannon is basically a slow-moving big plasma burst kind of thing. And as you can see, it's ideal against the slow-moving bomber-class ships. Basically, it's good against anything that moves slowly or is stationary. Aside from that, guns, and if it moves fast, use your missiles. The thing about the missiles is that the missiles, like, one-hit kill a fighter, so you might as well just throw out as many missiles as you actually can until you've run out of missiles. Then you can actually dock with your ship and rearm, so, well, why not? Just keep throwing missiles at everything over and over and over again. As far as I'm aware, missiles don't generate heat. Am I right? Yes, I am. Missiles do not, in fact, generate heat. So missiles are the best things, and really all it requires you to do is hold down the W button to lock, then release, and 99 times out of 100 it's actually going to hit. The one big problem I've seen of this game so far, based on my first impressions, is the pacing. Like, there are long times in the game where nothing actually ends up happening. You're sitting there, it's like, right, okay, just waiting for the next scripted part to trigger, which usually involves the same thing happening over and over and over again, if I'm totally honest. There we go, just easily eliminate him, no problem at all. Is that all of the bombers? No, looks like we've got another one over there. Should be easy enough to take out. And yes, you can do it at point-blank range without really worrying about taking any damage whatsoever, while this guy shouts at you, and just gets on your nerves over and over again. Alright, are there any other bombers? No, let's cycle through the targets. Nope, no more bombers. So the fighters can really do very, very little. They can shoot at the turrets, but that's really about it. So they're a minor annoyance more so than anything else. Indeed, most of them won't even shoot at you. Ah, big ships. Here we go. So these things are interesting because for the most part you can't actually hurt them. And it relies on a bit of a gimmick mechanic called the torchlight, which is a system whereby your ship actually hacks into their ship, and you keep an eye on this little panel in the corner, and it will show a set of digits, numbers and letters. You then have to put them in the correct order as a passcode, and then you can select from a number of options as to what you want to do. In this case, it looks like we're just going to be blowing the frigates up, so we don't have to worry too much about that. And indeed, it's not even telling me to target the fight. It's probably for the best, because generally speaking, they just keep launching the same ships over and over and over again. Wow, the arc cannon does basically nothing to these things. Well, that's nice. It's going to take me a while to kill this. Now, the other issue I've got in terms of pacing is the fact that the missions drag on too goddamn long. The prologue, I can understand, because it's teaching you various things, but the second mission drags on 20+ minutes and involves doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's kind of the biggest problem that I've got with it, that it involves doing the same thing over and over and over again. Well, looks like we're not destroying those frigates anytime soon, and indeed there doesn't seem to be a way of using the torchlight on them, so I guess we're just gonna sit there and shoot at them. Aha, there we go. Excellent, it's found it. There is the hack point. So as far as I can tell, there's not going to be a situation where you actually destroy one of these ships properly. From what I can see, anyway. Alright, so the passcode is LVUM, select that, and I can either turn the missiles friendly or disable the engines. Let's turn the missiles friendly, there we go. Alright, so the missiles are no longer shooting at our ship, which is nice, and is obviously taking damage over there. You can see that I'm taking a little bit of damage here too. It's not really a big deal. If you get down too low, you can just fly back to your ship and rearm and repair. Unfortunately, it's still going to take blinking ages to actually kill this thing by the looks of it. Alright, another transmission mode, okay. Let's see what we can get here. A1, 2. You don't really have to worry too much about dodging. It's very, very easy to avoid most of the fire. you take a minor bit of fire here and there, but just spinning and boosting tends to get you out of the way of anything, and fighters aren't even interested in me. They're more interested in shooting at that. Alright. Okay, so the missiles are now done on these. Yes, fighter-class ships approaching. I hope you like that, because that's going to happen over and over and over again. The ship variety in this game doesn't seem to be all that great. There's these capital ships, and then, as you can see, these guys are actually killing each other with missiles. But they're taking ages to kill each other. Alright, excellent. Another transmission node, so let's hack once again. And this is basically how it goes. You take some damage, as you can see right here, and the chances are I'm going to have to go and repair quite shortly. And then you do the hack. I actually didn't see all of it there. I think it was that. Yep, okay. Right. There we go. Turrets are now friendly, so they're going to be shooting each other and nonsense like that. So you don't even really get to kill them. They kill each other. Alright, then you find the front of the ship, as long as you don't accidentally drift in the wrong direction. The acceleration is handled via the use of the mouse control, which is not ideal. You can use, if you wish, a controller or a joystick for this game, which I imagine most people will want to do. Alright, so you fly in here, and if I recall correctly, this should repair and rearm you. With a cutscene. There we go, and we are ready to go once again. Fully repaired and rearmed, and now we just shoot everything with missiles again, because that's the most effective way of killing anything on the map. You might as well. And why not? They don't generate any heat, so you don't have to worry about overheating. Just use your mag cannon for the big things, and then just lock on with a missile and shoot them. Now, it will either kill them in 1 or 2 hits, one way or the other. Alright. I think I might even have to clean up a few more of these. Oh, another hack point. This is how it goes. This is what the missions actually entail. And it drags on, and it's repetitive, and that's a really big problem. While these guys seem capable of creating a competent space game where the combat is okay, you know, it does its job, it works fine, the controls are alright, they seem to have not mastered the art of pacing. Ah, a weak point. Excellent. Right. Now we can finally maybe shoot and kill this sodding thing. I'm not seeing the weak point anywhere, though. Is it there? Or was that the wrong ship? Oh, perhaps it's the... Oh, another one. Okay. Well, that's fine. I think we can almost kill this anyway. It's only on 8%, so a weak point isn't really relevant. Now just one more shot at it, and it should go down. There we go. Taking a little bit more damage from the turrets there, which is not so ideal, of course. I want to try and avoid that. Come on, just die. Another thing that I really don't like, incidentally, is the fact that there is no variety in the music. Like, this same kind of drum theme in the background that's basically a 20-second loop happens over and over and over again. Alright, E-I-S-P. Okay, great. There we go. Download the blueprints. Alright, let's do that. And then just boost to avoid taking too much fire. The Atlas is taking some damage, certainly, but there we go. Now we have some weak points we can actually strike. Good. I'm glad you can actually kill the ship. Having them kill each other would be a little bit dull, I've got to say. Alright, aim 2 at that weak point, and didn't actually do anything. Alright, okay, I see. It reveals it in red there. More hacking! I really don't want to do more hacking. I think I can probably just kill it at this point, so let's just spam weapons in the general direction of the weak points. Do one more turn. Here we go. Round the bend, and... you are the weakest link. Goodbye. Alright. The frigate should now be dead. Now the question is, does this mission go on for any longer? Because this is what I thought on the second mission. You've got to kill some emplacements, kill some fighters, and then escort a bunch more transports away, which basically just means killing more fighters. And then you've got to repeatedly hack a large ship until everything disappears. Alright, is that this mission done? Yes, no, maybe? Hopefully. Alright, it looks like we're getting out of here. Return to the Atlas flying, and that is a mission. There are only 8 missions in this game, so that's not what I'd actually call an awful lot of content. Again, the problem is that this game does not enthuse me in the way that something like Starlancer does. Starlancer still stands up to this day as being a really, really good combat simulator. And we didn't actually find out as to whether or not the heroic action as to whether or not it actually told you about it. I'll go back into that mission and we'll see whether or not there's a way to tell. You can see that the heroic action, complete the mission with Atlas health above 50%. So I didn't do that and as such didn't get upgrade points. Now, the one upgrade point I did get can be spent into this. Now, these are the most generic, boring upgrades I've seen. There's barely any customization in this at all. You don't get to customize weapons, you can upgrade one of 3 different things. And honestly, it seems like weapon upgrade is by far the best at the moment. Maybe Afterburner will come into play a little bit later. It's certainly useful to have, but just getting more missiles and having less gun overheat seems much, much more useful. And I'm barely taking any damage. Did you see a single fighter shoot at me that entire mission? Not really. This also happened on the prologue, and it also happened on Mission 2. The fighters barely engage you. When they do, they just flip around and shoot at you. Otherwise, they're effectively cannon fodder, and they usually go after other ships, and you just have to gun the damn things down. So you never really feel like you're dogfighting, you feel like you're duck shooting. Not a good thing to be. Not a good way to be at all. Alright, we'll see if this mission, if under this mission we can actually find the objective, and then determine as to whether or not it is in fact hidden and secret until you've beaten the mission in the first place. If we were to compare this to the older school games like Free Space 2 and things like that, this game lacks any of the drama, any of the pacing, and any of the tension. Like, these 3 missions so far, I've barely felt any tension whatsoever, whereas Starlancer had it from day one, because there was a very real possibility of you failing the mission and losing ships here and there, and there was even consequences for doing that, because, of course, it was possible to beat a mission at a variety of different levels. You could actually screw up pretty badly, and you'd still pass the mission, but it would be a negative outcome. Alright. Nope, there's no way to tell. It does not tell you anywhere what your heroic action is. Not good. And as you can see, the next mission just involves fighting fighters again. I think what I need to see from a space combat game in order for it to actually be any good is to have the same kind of tension that I experienced in Starlancer and X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter to some degree, the Wing Commander games, and of course, Free Space 2. There is no dive, 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 hit your burners pilot. You don't get that kind of stuff. The mission variety, from what I've seen of the first 3 missions, bear in mind that that is a lot of the game. That's 3 out of 8 missions, is very, very poor indeed. It basically just involves blow up everything, and that, as they say, is that. Unlike Starlancer, there doesn't seem to be any sense of momentum to the missions. You're always in one area. In Starlancer, you're often warping into different areas, and you're often doing so at an incredibly high speed. You're having to kill enemies very fast, knock torpedoes out of the sky very rapidly. Everything here seems to be a slower pace, but there's no real logical reason for it. It doesn't benefit the gameplay in any way, which is sadly disappointing. In terms of its presentation, it looks okay, but it doesn't look amazing. You could say, oh, it's an Unreal Engine game. It's going to look absolutely incredible. It really doesn't, honestly, and that's a shame. Obviously, it is by an indie studio, so graphics-wise, you can't necessarily expect the earth. And the graphics didn't put me off the game, but they didn't enthuse me about the game either. I'd say the graphics are decidedly average. Sound quality is middling, to say the least. The music is the weakest part, because it's the same track looped over and over again. It's not particularly helpful at all. The voice acting is actually a little bit higher quality than I would have necessarily expected, so I can't really complain too much about that. Very, very rarely is it cringeworthy, and actually there were a couple of moments in the prologue where I genuinely smirked because I found it quite amusing. Unfortunately, this game does not enthuse me. It doesn't get me excited about space combat games again. The problem is there's a 12-year-old game that's better than this. In fact, there are several 12-year-old games that are simply better than this. You can say you're inspired by these games, but I don't think they've really learned the lessons from them. They haven't been able to keep up with the pacing. They haven't been able to keep up with the combat. Everything is so generic. You've got the same ships over and over again. There's no customization. You can't choose which kind of ship to fly. You can't choose what weapons are on your ship. It's the same one every time. And these 3 upgrade paths, which are just this smack of laziness and lack of creativity. It's like, upgrade your guns, upgrade your engines, upgrade your armor. And it's not even an interesting way either. I mean, why couldn't we have had, say, a gun level 3, you also have a flat cannon? Or gun level 4, you also fire rockets? Or something along those lines. No, it's decreases cooldowns. That's it. That's all there is. Here, have a couple extra missiles. No, I'm sorry. Soul Exodus is not a particularly good game, in my honest opinion. And funnily enough, this first impressions involved me basically playing almost half the game, which I got through in about an hour. Now, bear in mind the game is cheap. It is $10, it is £7, and it is, unfortunately for the Europeans, €10. So it's dollar to euro. You're paying about 33% more than you should be if you're buying it in euros, which is very unfortunate. But still, you can say, well, oh, for... Not really sure why the game is shouting at me all of a sudden. You can say, well, it's a $10 game, so a couple of hours of entertainment is fine. And I would say that, yes, that is true. It can be fine for some people. There is replayability in the sense that you can replay a mission to get the optional objective, but aside from that, the mission isn't really going to change, and the pacing is pretty bad. When it told me that, oh, you've got to save all the transports in Mission 2 in order to get a single skill point unlock, I turned around and said, no, I'm not playing that 20-plus minute mission again because it wasn't interesting. When they describe it as epic missions, it really isn't. It's just long missions. It's drawn out. The actual content and the pacing is simply not there. And as a result, you don't get the buildup of tension, adrenaline that you got in previous space combat games. And it just falls flat on its face in that respect. And that's sad to see. It really is. I'm hoping that people keep trying to make these games. I do praise them for trying to make a space combat game. I don't think they did it all that well. Maybe their next game might be better. Here's hoping that more companies actually try to pull this off, though, because this genre is sadly lacking. It almost makes me fearful to criticize the game on the basis it may, in some parallel universe, scare some developer off from doing it and say, oh, well, it's, you know, nobody's buying this. If people don't buy this game, it's because it's not all that good. It's not because it's a space combat game. In fact, Evercron Mercenary, if you can believe that, which is a space combat and trading game, an even more niche genre along the lines of X Beyond the Frontier, Elite, and Freelancer, sold pretty well on Steam. Its actual Steam sales figures were good. It was in the top charts. So there is a market for this. It's just you've got to do it properly. And unfortunately, Soul Exodus didn't. My name's been Totalbiscuit, and this has been a look at Soul Exodus, currently available on Steam. I'll see you next time.